Okay, hello everybody. Can you see me and can you hear me? I will ask you to put your questions or answers in the question box. And if you can hear me and you can see the presentation. Yeah, okay, I have a few yeses, a few pluses, great. Okay, mostly pluses. So from our side, everything is fine with the settings. We will start, and this webinar is the proof that lesson planning really works. And what I'm going to clarify at the first place is the situation with the certificates. As usual, you will receive them after the webinar. Some of you will receive them during the day. Some of you will receive them during the week after the webinar, but you will definitely get them. The certificates will be sent automatically by the platform. So please, if you have any questions, you are free to contact me, but be sure, you should be sure that your certificate will be there in about a week. Okay, so coming back to lesson planning. Lesson planning and classroom management are separate. So we will talk about classroom management just to refresh our knowledge a little bit and move to lesson planning. So classroom management, I'm sure you've seen such situations, especially in the second form, second year of studying. Students are always ready to play games, to have fun, and it is quite difficult to keep the discipline with young learners. And to keep the discipline, classroom management and lesson planning should be really perfect. And here you can see two definitions. Which one? I will come back. We have classroom management and classroom discipline. Which one is which? I will ask you to put it in the question box. Which one is classroom discipline and which one is classroom management? There are two definitions. Your task is to write down the notion for this definition. Okay, I've got one answer from Victoria. Natalia, one more answer. Okay. Irina, thank you. Oh, I've got different answers. Okay, loads of answers. Thank you very much. Let's look what it is. So the first one is classroom discipline. The second one is classroom management. Why? Because, okay, maintaining order and keeping everything moving at the lesson and to keep an eye on the behavior, it's about discipline. And about management, it's more about preparation for the lesson and being sure that you're in control of everything that is happening during the lesson. So Is it all about discipline? Yeah, learning is taking place. Yes, it's discipline is the atmosphere where learning is taking place, because if this is the main objective. Yeah, it is quiet. Well, no, because we have communication stages where it should be noisy, but it is disciplined when, if it's noisy, it is disciplined if students are working on their communication task, right? Are working on role playing or mingling task or classroom survey. So it shouldn't be quiet, it should be managed properly. The teacher is in control. Yes, always the teacher is in control of what's happening. And we know that lessons should be student-centered. So students are the ones who talk at the lesson, who do all the activities, who have fun, but we control how it's happening. We give instructions, and we make sure that these instructions are observed. Teacher and students are cooperating smoothly. This is the point where objectives of a teacher and a student should meet. Yeah, students, especially young learners, they come to the lesson to have some fun, and teachers have their own objective to teach something, and somewhere in between these objectives should meet. So we provide some fun, some games for students, some entertaining tasks, but the objective of these tasks is to teach them the language that we are supposed to teach at this lesson in the largest extent. And of course, we will talk later how to, that it's impossible only to have fun, but how to keep them motivated is also about lesson planning. Okay. Students are motivated. Yes, if students are motivated, there is discipline in terms of lesson planning. That's what I said before. The lesson is proceeding according to the plan. Well, it is discipline, but teachers should also watch their students, and if they prepared some activity which is very settling, and students are already too settled, and it might seem boring for both of you, you should be prepared to change this activity, to know how to turn this activity into steering one. Teacher and students have common objective. This is impossible. We already had a little talk on this about teachers and students cooperate smoothly. Yes, they do cooperate, but only when their objectives meet. And we cannot have the objective of a teacher is to teach, the objective of students, it's usually different. Yeah, some of them come to learn something, some of them want to have fun, some of them want to demonstrate how wonderful they are, and all of them have different objectives. But most of the times they are to communicate. And if we're talking about adult students, they come to the lessons and they come back to the lessons, and they don't skip lessons if they have proper communicative situations at these lessons, if they enjoy the lessons. And the same with kids, if they have enough of games, and if they understand that they succeed, they want to come back and they are motivated. And we need to provide opportunities for students to succeed, so that they succeed and challenged at the same time. And the teacher has natural charismatic authority. This is important, but it's not crucial, and we know that it's good that if the teacher has this charismatic authority, but it can be developed. It's not always natural. There are loads of videos on how to teach, how to keep the attention of the audience, and so on. Okay, so classroom management can be divided into several categories, and we see here layout, behavior, time, policies, procedures, instruction, and materials. And we all usually start with greetings each lesson. Yeah, we start with hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. But the truth is that not everybody's fine, and these daily routines shouldn't become automatic. Yeah, and well, here we have a personalized way of greetings with a teacher from the USA. Oh, doesn't want to show the video. Okay. So you can see in this video that the teacher has his own personalized way of saying hello to everybody. Yes, this is automized way of greetings, but children feel special every time. This doesn't mean that you have to make dancing or such things. You can choose what you think is appropriate for your classroom, but personalizing greetings is much better than making students say that they are fine, thank you, every day. Another important thing is the layout, and be sure that you not only have this kind of layout. It's the easiest way for students to hide here. Yeah, we can see one is whispering, one is sharpening a pencil, another is playing imaginary harmonica, and so on. That I love this picture. That's the real classroom in the times I was studying. And how to change it? First of all, the teacher here is hiding behind the table, and this is what makes a huge barrier between students and teachers. You can have this kind of layout, but you shouldn't be sitting here. You should be walking around and monitoring if students have some kind of task. And talking about the layout, it's more about test-like, yeah, or lecture-like. And the first and second form, it's impossible to work this way all the time. You should have some zones. For example, here, we can see the group investigation area, space for whole class instructions, a space for some interaction, for projects, for communication, yeah, and learning center area. There are different ways to zone your classroom, and for example, this one has 7 learning zones, and there are discovery zone, news zone, supplies, community, quiet, teachers zone, and subject area zone. So according depending on the aim of the lesson and the type of the lesson, you can move from one zone to another zone, but be sure to do it systematically so students get used to it and they know how behave in each zone. And here are some other ways to set your layout. For example, this one is a lecture, but this one is for projects, for tests, for group discussions, and here the 10, 11, and 12, it's for mingling activities or for pair works and work in 3. So depending on how you turn the chair, you can change the layout. All right. And I will skip this. So, moving on. To keep the behavior, give them more fun, which they really want to have. For example, I have roll call game when you have to check who is absent and who is present. Yeah. What you can do, you can turn it into a game. For example, it will take a little bit more time, but if you set it as usual daily activity, it will work much better. For example, Dima, name 3 animals, and you can prepare a set of questions to the students and just change them every day so they keep concentrated and interested. So to keep your students motivated, let them move, know and cater your student learning styles, and keep in mind their multiple intelligence. Be over-prepared, be sure you have some spare activities. Encourage your students to be independent. Keep in mind your students' attention span, and you know that in age of 6, 7, 8, they have attention span up to 7 minutes, which is a lot, but usually it's 4 or 5 minutes. And repeat activities from time to time, so you don't have to create new instructions all the time. Repeat activities, so and have names for activities, so students feel confident and know why what they are expected to do. Giving instructions should be very short, and if the instruction is long, chunk your instruction. Modal instructions, yeah, maybe sometimes you don't have to explain anything as with games because it's difficult, but show a part of the game using a puppet and then using another student, and then let your students continue in pairs or in groups. And chunk your instructions, explain everything step by step, try step 1 and then move to step 3. Don't instruct everything at once. And keep an eye on your watch. Yeah. Have some attention getters like these, or attention getters like rhymes, like freeze, melt, macaroni cheese, everybody freeze. So you know that you can get their attention after mingling activity or any other steering up activity. And again, repeat them from time to time. And you know that sometimes you have a situation when you have to ask a student about something. Yes, well, here we don't have marks here, but still you have a list of your students and you might ask something and go through the list. Much funnier way is to create such sticks with your students, and if you need an answer from a particular student, you can choose a stick and ask this student randomly, yeah, or ask a random student, or you don't have to always read the name on the stick, but ask the student you want to ask. Yeah, and talking about multiple intelligences, keep in mind that different students learn in different ways, and we should keep the balance of all the intelligences: musical intelligence, visual intelligence, interpersonal, intrapersonal, linguistic, logical, mathematical, physical or kinesthetic intelligence, and natural intelligence. Keep them all in mind while preparing your activities, and try to make them rich with all the types of learning. And you know that each, well, usually English lessons consist of such components as listening, reading tasks with comprehension, communicative tasks, presentation of grammar, presentation of new vocabulary, exercises on linguistic usages of grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, spelling, or even punctuation, writing task, review of homework, preparation for a test, and test itself. So these are typical components of English lessons. Not all of them go to the lesson with young learners. For example, we don't have much writing tasks in the first form, but we might have some in the second form. And it's important to have a balance with all the language activities, with all the usages. Starting from the second form, it's important to keep in mind that all the components should be involved. The communicative tasks, listening, reading, writing tasks, and use of English tasks. Okay. Lessons can be different also in terms of tempo. For example, activities may be fast-moving and maybe slow and reflecting, such as writing or projects. Lessons can be different in terms of how students work, individually, in pairs, groups, or as a full classroom. They can be different in terms of materials, and you can use only a course book, but it is good to spend at least some of the time working on teacher or student initiated tasks, or, for example, computer-based materials. Activities may be based on the written or spoken language, and within these, they may vary as to whether the students are asked to produce, speak or write, or to receive, listen or read. Activities may be easy or non-demanding or difficult, requiring concentration and effort. And it's important here that you vary these activities according to this category, difficulty. You might put some easy activity at the end of the lesson to end up at the positive, on a positive note. And if the task is really difficult, students might be demotivated. If the task is too easy, they might be under-challenged and demotivated again. So be sure that your tasks are usually possible to succeed in and at the same time challenging. Both the language teaching point and the topic may change from one activity to another. Yeah, and that's why we have clear sections. That's why we have different projects, and it's not only about language, but about competences as well. Activities vary in mood. There might be light and fun-based versus serious and profound, tense versus relaxed, and so on. Steering and settling activities, we mentioned them. Yeah, steering activities are the ones which require a lot of movement okay, sorry. Is the sound okay? Can you put the pluses? Is the sound good here? Yes, okay, I will continue. Thank you very much. Yeah, steering activities, the one which require a lot of movement, a lot of energy, and settling activities with like dictations or again projects which require being calm. And there might be active and passive lessons. Okay. Students may be activated in a way that encourages their own initiative, as in projects, and they may only be required to do as they are told. So passive lessons. And again, it's impossible to plan a lesson so that which involves all of these points, but it's important to keep your lessons varied and to have a good balance between these categories, whether you had too fast tempo or sometimes you slow down. And you know that one and the same tempo might be boring, whether it's too fast or it's too slow. Students might get bored because of one and the same tempo, so you can change it from time to time, from activity to activity. And the same with everything, yeah, with the difficulty, with the steering, settling, balance, and so on. When you evaluate your lessons, think about these categories and analyze how many of them you change and you use. And some practical tips. It's important to put the harder tasks earlier during the lesson, because there is a tendency that students by the end of the lesson get less concentrated, and that's why some presentation of new material should be at the beginning of the lesson. Do quieter activities before lively ones. It can be quite difficult to calm down a class, particularly of children and adolescents who have been participating in a lively, exciting activity. Yeah, so if one of your lessons is quiet and reflective, it is better to plan it before a lively one, not after. Keep an eye on your watch. We were talking about some attention getters, and be sure that everything goes according to the plan. Plan realistically, and try to use everything you planned. Pull the class together at the beginning and end of the lesson. That's an important point, because we usually start with general greetings, attendance taking, and so on. But it's a good idea to have some kind of round off, yeah, procedure at the end of the lesson, like a song or a chant all together in chorus, or some goodbyes in chorus. And be sure you have this, because this is what unites the class and gives them this positive note at the end. Now, about positive note, it doesn't necessarily mean that ending should be with some kind of joke or fun activity. It can be also serious, like a summary of what you achieved today, or a positive evaluation of something the class has done, and some can-do statements from your students, like what they can do after this lesson. Okay. Moving on, all the recommendations I will give at the end of the session, if you don't mind, and we will move on. Prepare and reserve. That's a good point. Yeah. Oh, it's important. Not with young learners, because we don't give them much homework, and it's important not to end your lesson with the homework. You can remind of homework at the end, but give it somewhere during the lesson, during the activity, which is similar to homework activity. But with young learners, we don't have homework, so just end up on a positive note. And yeah, prepare and reserve. Be prepared and be over-prepared, as they say about young learners. Always have something else in your pocket in case your students go too fast. And always have something for fast finishers, and some activities that can be easily prepared or require zero preparation. You can have a list of them or something like that. So use different materials like these, yeah, not only the the course book, but also different cards, different sticky notes, balls only for classroom management, flashcards might also be only for classroom management. Like if you need to regroup your student, you can use colored cards, sticky notes, you can use a ball to get an answer, you can stick the names of the students to some other seats in the classroom if you need to regroup them. They can regroup according to what they wear, to what color they have, to their age, to their names, line up according to their names, find some numbers under the desk and line up according to these numbers. So be sure you have something that is not only going the way of the course book. And here I have an example of how I used to prepare lesson plans. First of all, you need to know what the date, the time of the lesson, where the lesson takes place, and with which class it takes place. Well, that's typical. And how to set objective of the lesson. I have the one and the same sentence for young learners and for adults. At the end of the lesson, pupils will be able to. And here you can write not only say a word, 1, 2, 3 count, or say alphabet, or understand grammar, but what you really want them to be able to do. They will be able to ask, to introduce each other, to introduce themselves. So think about real communicative situation, what they will be able to practically and in life, not for the lesson, not for the test. So at the end of the lesson, pupils will be able to ask and answer about their name and age, introduce their friend, or talk about what they are wearing and what somebody is wearing, to describe something. So be sure this objective is not formal but real. Then you have the beginning of the lesson. You describe the beginning of your lesson in the way you do it. Usually it's a warm-up to recycle the previous topic, or lead-in to introduce the new topic. Write which materials you need, not everywhere. For specific activities might be specific materials, but it's good to write here if you're using in activity 1, pupils book, activity 2, activity book, activity 3, flashcards. So you know in which order you need your materials that might be really useful for you. And here I have only one line, but you can have 3 or 4 of them, and it's good to have feedback after each activity. So you ask students how they feel. You later on analyze your own lesson and think of what went good, what didn't, what should be improved. At the end, how you end, whether it's a song or another choral activity or project activity, or just goodbye altogether to each other, but have some ending for the whole classroom and write it down so we don't forget about it. Reserve, this is in case the ending goes earlier than you plan. You put reserve before ending. Write down what new language your students are going to learn, and what they need to review at this lesson. Now, in this column, type of work, what I write, I have pair work, individual work, group, front, like the whole classroom work, mingling, and other activities. I can have also R for regrouping. Mingling, it's when students work with different students. They come up to one than to another, for example, as in a survey, classroom survey. So if I put these kinds of activities, I can see at my lesson that I have a balance of group, pair, and individual work, and I don't spend all the time talking myself. And this is how I work with timing. I put minutes of for each activity, how long it's gonna take, and then I put the timing when it's gonna finish. Yeah, so if I start at 11, this activity will finish at 11 and 5 minutes, and I count how much time each activity takes, and I see at once when I plan how it should go. If it doesn't go this way, well, you need to practice and make it go this way finally. I think with such kind of planning, in 2 months, I had all of my activities properly planned during the lesson. And general feedback after the lesson, it will take you only 2 minutes to think what worked, what didn't work, what could work better, and ideas for the next lesson. And a huge helper is teacher's book. In any course, teacher's book is a great helper for any teacher, even a very experienced teacher. You can see here for Quick Minds, this is the first lesson of the second level, and in Quick Minds we have lesson is divided into 3 parts. And you look at it and you can see some pictures, some chant, but you don't actually know what exactly you can do here. And if you run out of ideas, look at the teacher's book. Here we have all the objectives, what to do, yeah, to review the characters, to review items, to present and to practice saying chant for pleasure. And this is objective given by the teacher's book, but you can have that lesson plan with your own objective, where at the end of the lesson, students will be able to, which is more important than these objectives. Then you have all the language you learn, all the language you review, all the materials that you need for this particular lesson, digital tips. And what is really important for the program of New Ukrainian School is you have all the basic competences given here: language, social and civic, mathematical, cultural awareness and expression at this lesson. Yeah, next lesson there will be some other competence developing. And homeschool link, which is not homework but homeschool link, online interactive activities. You can give your students a link so they can play some games at home if they want, or if you were working on some arts and crafts project, what they take away home is the homeschool link, so their parents see what is done. Now, each lesson starts with warm-up, presentation of new material. This is the first stage, yeah. And here you can see for this particular lesson, back to school lesson, we have how to present new vocabulary, hold up each flashcard in turns, then do activities several times, then work with flashcards, word cards, draw something on board, and so on. Then only after that we listen to the chant, where students can work with it, and they have physical activities and everything they can with this chant. Yeah, so first they point at the words and say the words, practice pointing and saying in pairs, practicing, they can be practicing in groups, and you don't have to obey everything that the teacher book gives, but there are great ideas. Then play the recording again, you can see here, and repeat that, and you can even have a steering activity where they can run in the classroom and touch what they see in the classroom, not only the picture, after they did it in the picture. And then students have a communicative tasks where, communicative task where they have to point at the picture and say the number. Come back here for a while. Yeah, so here we have number 4, it's a clock. Number 6, it's a board. That's the communicative activity. Students play this kind of guessing game with each other. And there is also extension to the first lesson with optional activities from the teacher's resource book, and extension, just some fun activity for the ending of the lesson. That's where you can find these activities to vary your endings, not to make them the same all the time. And you can see that the lesson plan from the teacher's book involves not only the pupil's book, but also activity book, flashcards, and all the components that might be used. Okay. Oh, there was a question about feedback and general feedback in my table. Feedback on the activity is, okay, should I come back? Feedback on the activity is more for the lesson. You, okay, here we go. It's for the lesson. So after a main activity, for example, after a chant, you take feedback from students, like show me a window, yeah, touch the window. All of a sudden, you ask questions for content understanding, yeah, CCQs, and this can be a feedback. Or you can ask students how they feel after some communicative task. Or so this is a feedback that you take from students. It can be very short. Did you like the activity? Yes, no. Well, usually they say the yes or no, but any kind of feedback during the lesson. And general feedback, it's all, and you can, after the lesson, you can write here some points. General feedback, it's about the whole lesson. It's more analytical thing. Okay. Sorry, I skipped that question. I didn't see it at once. Fine, moving on. Here is another lesson, another type of a lesson here with thinking activities, more critical thinking. What I wanted to show here is other competences involved. Yeah, cultural awareness and expression, social and civic competence. Pupils learn the message of perseverance, mathematical competence, and there will be many other competences involved in each unit and each lesson. Here we have a broader lesson plan, but still it takes almost the same time than the first, as the first lesson, but it's more, it has a little bit more content. So using the lesson plans, you can share with the classroom, but it's more about adults, yeah, to tell them what you're going to do and to check whether you succeeded at the end. Then we have adapt, which means how to use, yeah, the lesson plan you had. If you saw that some activity didn't work, you can think about how you can adapt it next time so it works, or with which topic you can use the same activity and it will work as you think. So making these notes will will be really important for your further teacher development. Add later comment, yeah, as we were talking about general feedback. Tick, for example, this is ticking whether your instructions were good. Did you use the imperative? Yeah, open the books, close the, take your pencils, close the notebook, and so on. Use short sentences, really important with young learners. Pause to allow learners time to process information, especially when you're giving instruction. Give a specific task. Yeah, like open the book is a specific task, is a task, but open the book at the page is a more specific task. Give a time limit. That's important for any task. Yeah, if you tell your students in pairs, well, tell or model for your students is so that they have to in pairs ask and answer some question. Yeah, for example, as we had in that lesson. Number 4, it's a clock. Number 3, it's a board. If you just give this task without time limit, they will use all the time they have. If you tell them that they have 3 minutes or even 1 minute to finish the task, and if they are first, they win, this will motivate them much better. Use signaling words to get learners' attention, as we were talking about attention getters. It doesn't help you when you use colloquial, idiomatic language, give too many instructions at once, add if you want, if you can, but you don't have to your instructions. And we can improve instructions by making them simpler and more graded. So, then you can have these words and tick at the end of the lesson whether you graded your language, whether you used imperative, whether you had a worksheet and it was good and it worked, and so on, whether you were monitoring walking around the classroom or you didn't, you were sitting behind the table. Okay. Be prepared, be over-prepared, have tasks for fast finishers, repeat your activities so they feel secure when they come back to this activity. Surprise, have some surprise activities, yeah, especially when they have to do some huge piece of work, and then you tell them that if they finish faster, you have a surprise activity, like watching a cartoon from time to time, and something like that. Games, all kinds of intelligences, balance. All the examples were taken from Quick Minds, okay? From different levels of Quick Minds, and you know that now we are piloting the second level of Quick Minds, and all the Quick Minds are the sons and daughters of the Super Minds course. So if you're interested, this is Cambridge course for young learners to develop thinking skills, all of them, Quick Minds, Super Minds, and so on. And there is a lot about exam preparation materials. You know that in 2018 the exams changed, so this is why all the materials were changed, and you can use exam preparation materials as supplementary for your lessons as additional practice. For example, there is website, World of Fun, where you can find additional activities for the first and second form, movers for third and fourth, flyers for fifth and sixth form. You can also use Kids Box with young learners if you prepare your students for Wiley exams, starters, movers, and flyers. You can see here that there is also story fun, 6 levels of story fun with wonderful illustrated stories and comprehension activities after reading, with projects and also drama activities for story fun. And there is fun series, the exam preparation for young learners, and all the tasks are in the format of Wiley exams. So and of course there are home fun booklets that go together with fun and story fun series, and trainers to practice exams with your students. All right. This is the website, World of Fun, Cambridge.org, where you can find more activities for your students. Also, you can find a lot of useful information about how it is going with Super Minds and Quick Minds. With Quick Minds, the first and second level, and publishing Linguist UA and Linguist UA website. Keep track now in news. We can also have different seminars and webinars every month in different cities. We have seminars. For example, this month there will be a seminar in Chernivtsi. To find more information about it, you can check our Facebook page. Here it is. To find it, you just type in Cambridge University Press ELT Ukraine and find us there. You can also find more interesting resources and activities at Young Learners, Cambridge Young Learners section. To find it, you go to cambridge.org and cambridge.org website, register there, go to Catalogue, and here you will find Young Learners section with lots of videos, downloadable resources for teachers, for students, demo lessons, how to work with phonics, how to work with everything connected to young learners, and of course information about materials, what works best with young learners. There is also a section for secondary, if you teach secondary as well. We also have YouTube channel with wonderful webinars from international webinars recordings, with tips for teachers from teachers, with tips from book authors and speakers of Cambridge. And for those who were interested where to get materials, there are different handbooks for teachers that Cambridge University Press provides. These are a few of new items, and you can also have an online course. There are over 70 online courses, 2, 5, 20 hours. You can buy such an online course, which is not very expensive, and it will give you methodology covering different skills. For example, there is lesson planning and classroom management 20-hour course, which you can pass and have the certificate from Cambridge University Press and Cambridge Assessment English. In your own pace, you can pass the course. And to find them, you can go, you can follow this link, which I can provide after we finish the webinar, and if you email me. That's where you can email me, and also you will get all my contact details after the webinar with the thank you letter and your certificate. Here are the contact details of the Linguist Company, which is the official distributor of Cambridge University Press in Ukraine. So if interested in literature, feel free to contact the Linguist Company. And thank you very much for listening to me. See you all next month.